Rama Rama Pupoda. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, relaxed, and peaceful. Now let's go to chapter 31. Swargashram, Hardwar. Ramdas gives it up. When Ramdas returned to Swargashram, he directed his steps to the double kuti which he had occupied with the other two friends before leaving for Vasishtashram. But he found the room locked. For night he sought refuge in a kuti which was in ruins. This kuti consisted of nothing but two walls and tin sheets covering the top. The night was cold and icy blasts were blowing into the dilapidated kuti. The night passed and the next day he still found the double kuti shut and locked. In the same line as the fallen kuti in which Ramdas stayed for the night was another occupied by an old sadhu from Maharashtra. He had known Ramdas on the last occasion. He informed Ramdas that Ramcharandas and Bhavani Shankar Rao had left Swarga Ashram some days before, and Ramcharandas had locked the double kuti. He expressed his keen desire to accommodate Ramdas in his kuti. Ramdas accepted his hospitality. The room he occupied was only 10 feet by 4 feet. There was a slightly raised pad of earth along its width which was intended for seat and sleeping place for the single dweller. The kind sadhu insisted upon Ramdas using the raised pad, and as for himself, the sadhu slept and sat on the lower floor at Ramdas' feet. The sadhu was a short-statured man. He was given to smoking ganja. His sadhana consisted of reading twice a day the Avaduta Gita in Sanskrit of Sri Dattatreya. For Bhiksha, both he and Ramdas would go to the Annakshetra at midday. One meal a day always sufficed Ramdas. Such also was the case with the sadhu. On account of the Kumbh Mela and also the approaching pilgrimage to Badrinath and Kedarnath, there was an unusual rush of pilgrims in advance of the set periods. They would wander in Swarga Ashram for the darshan of sadhus residing in the kutis. They used to make presents to the sadhus of eatables, cloths, and money. The pious pilgrims, before turning away from the kuti after the darshan, would throw into the room their presents. Mostly, they would fling pies. Every day, the coins collected would amount to 10 or 12 annas. The sadhu had a joli or pouch in which he stored the coins. Armed with the money, the sadhu would run to the small bazaar outside the ashram and procure milk, tea, sugar, and eatables. He would thus prepare a tea twice a day from the proceeds of the alms. Ramdas found that the sadhu's life became on continuous round of fetching tea materials and preparing tea from morning to evening. Even his daily readings of Avaduta Gita had to be stopped in consequence. As days passed, the coins commenced to pour in like a shower, sometimes silver coins also. Every day there was a surplus or balance of coins after the expenditure. The joli was getting heavier day by day, and the sadhu became madly active like a cat with a burnt tail. Ramdas now wanted to cry halt and had a frank talk on the subject of money with the sadhu. Sadhuji, God has provided us with a shelter in the kuti and is feeding us with a meal a day. He wills that we should devote all our time to his remembrance. Now what are we doing? Tea, eatables, and meal have become the sole things of our lives. You know, sadhus have nothing to do with money. The moment you have surplus money after your creature needs are met, you think of ways how you should spend it. You run to the bazaar for things which you can do without and get into a whirlpool of deluding activity. So in future, we shall not accept any coins from the visitors. We will pray to them not to offer any. Let us see how much we have already accumulated. The sadhu at first rebelled, against the suggestion, but at last yielded when Ramdas asked him to choose between him and the money. He lowered the bag from the peg on the wall and poured out its contents. The amount was about 5 rupees, mostly in copper coins. The sadhu was, for the time being, convinced of what Ramdas told him on the question of money. What shall we do with the money? Shall we give it to some other sadhu? He asked. How can you hand over a thing to another sadhu when you have found it bad for yourself? Remarked Ramdas. Then what is to be done? He queried. The only way, said Ramdas, is to throw away the money and have done with it. At this hint, the sadhu opened his eyes wide at Ramdas in surprise. Come along, fetch the coins. Ramdas walked out. The sadhu blindly obeyed. Ramdas led him, both his hands full of coins, to a meshy, thorny bush which was perfectly inaccessible. Now throw the coins into the bush, Ramdas advised. At one fling, the coins flew into the thick bush and disappeared from view. Now they returned to the kuti. This happened in the evening. Next day, as usual, the pilgrims had again their indefatigable quest for sadhus and came in larger numbers than before. They were appealed to both by Ramdas and the sadhu not to make presents of money, but in spite of their pleading, they threw coins on the floors of the room at its entrance, as was their wont. This time, not only copper coins but also silver rupees rolled down. In the evening, they found that the collection amounted to several rupees. Ramdas gave it up, Ram's will, and kept quiet over the matter. The sadhu, coolly, as if nothing had happened regarding the money matter, went about preparing tea and storing up provisions procured from the collection. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Puppodu.